everybody, and welcome to Craft Time. As you all should know by now, my name is Miss Kinsey, and I'm a librarian here at the Dell Rapids Carnegie Public Library. And today, for our craft time, we are going to be making some salt dough starfish. Now this goes along with our theme of mermaids and mermen this week, but actually you can make literally anything from this salt dough. These are my examples that I made to make sure that this works, right? And I'm going to show you how to make a couple of these along with the dough. Now, I'm going to start out by saying, please, please, please make sure that you have mom or dad's permission, grandma, grandpa, whoever is watching you, hanging out with you, to use these ingredients to make this dough. It does get a little bit messy, and you do use quite a bit of each of these ingredients, but everything should be found right in your home. Okay, so let's get started with what you're going to need to make this salt dough. First, you're going to need a bowl of some kind. Now, because we don't have a kitchen here at the library, we had to get a little bit creative, and I'm using this tote, but any size bowl will work for you guys. You're also going to need some flour, some salt, some water, a couple of mixing or measuring cups. You're going to need, for my case, you're going to need 1 cup and a half a cup. You're also going to need a spoon to stir it. Again, no kitchen in the library, minimal supplies, so this little measuring spoon is going to be my stirring spoon. I would also suggest a little bit of wax paper if you have it. Aluminum foil would probably work as well, but this is just going to make your creations a little bit more portable as you are waiting for them to dry. So, to start off, I'm going to put a little bit of wax paper down on our surface. And now we are going to make our salt dough. Now you are going to need equal parts flour and salt, and then half of that amount in water. So you can do this many, many ways. The one that I made and the one that I'm going to show you, I'm going to use 1 cup of flour. So I'm going to pour it in here. Now I found that this ratio was pretty accurate when it came to making our salt dough, but you can tweak it just a little bit if you need to. Okay, so 1 cup of flour and an equal amount, so 1 cup of salt. It's a lot of salt, isn't it? 1 cup of salt. Okay, and then what I did is I took my spoon and I mixed that salt and flour around and kind of just incorporated it all together before I added my water. So it is nice and dry, and if you feel it, it feels very grainy, kind of like sand already. Okay, can you guys kind of see that? Yep. Okay, so now we're gonna add our water. So we need half the amount of water that we added for our flour and our salt. So for my case, it's going to be a half a cup of water. So we're gonna make sure that we get that pretty close to accurate. And then I'm just gonna pour it into my dry mixture. And then I'm going to use my spoon to kind of stir things up a bit. You will notice as you are stirring that the flour and the salt kind of absorb the water and dries it out just a little bit. Makes it kind of a sticky goo. All right, so once we have most of the water incorporated into our flour and our salt, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn this out. I'm going to dump it out of our bowl, and I'm going to put it onto our wax paper surface, and then I'm going to finish mixing it with my hands. Okay? So here we go. We're going to plop it out. You can see that some of the flour and the salt has not quite incorporated yet, and that is what we will need to do now with our hands. Okay, I'm going to set that off to the side. So the best way I found to do that is to just kind of squish it up into a ball, mixing as much as you can. This salt dough actually feels really, really cool. Because there's so much salt in it, it still feels very grainy and very sand-like. Which goes really well for our beachy mermaid theme, right? Plus, it just has a really neat texture as you kind of get it all incorporated and play with it a little bit. Now, you can kind of see it's kind of dry in places, but it's kind of sticking to my hands a little bit too. You are going to get a little messy with this craft, but the lucky thing is it comes right off when you wash your hands. Now, to keep it from sticking to your hands quite as much, you might want to have a little dish of flour next to you, because if you put just a little bit of flour on your hands and then you work with the dough, it doesn't stick to your hands as much. That flour keeps your hands from sticking. The heat from your hands, that transfer, makes it feel a little melty and sticky. Okay, so pretty much everything is incorporated. You guys will do a much better job. I have kind of a lot of salt left here over to the side, but that's okay. It will still serve our purpose. So now I'm going to show you how I made my big fat starfish and my skinny starfish. So see how much dough this makes with just 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of salt, and 1/2 cup of water. Okay, this is about how much dough you're going to get. Now, if there's several of you in your family trying to make these, you might want to double this recipe and do 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of salt, and a whole cup of water. That is completely up to you. But this is actually a lot of dough for just those cups. Now, also, you can make a smaller batch, right? I'm gonna make you do a little bit of math, right? So if I wanted to do a smaller batch, I would just need to do same equal amounts of flour and salt. So I could do 1/2 cup of each, and then I would only need about 1/4 cup of water. Okay. All right, so to make my starfish, what I did is I just broke off a little piece of our dough. I'm going to put a little bit more flour on my hands because they are apparently very hot today. And then I just rolled my dough between my hands to make this shape. Okay, kind of coming apart a little bit, so I'm going to do it again. All right, and then I just kind of pressed it down onto my tray, and in this case onto my wax paper. And then you take another little hunk and do the same thing. Now, you can make your starfish as fat or as skinny as you like. You can make it a big blob and then use something to kind of cut away some of the dough to make your legs and arms of your starfish. You guys could get super, super creative with these. Now, in addition to starfish, I also made a sand dollar and a couple of scallop seashells, and I tried to make a nautilus shell. I'm not sure how well that turned out, but it was fun to roll out my dough and then to make it into a spiral. So basically, I'm just taking my little pieces that I've rolled out and I'm smushing them all together into the center. Now, another thing that you guys can do, I used this little chopstick that we have here at the library, and I made little dots in my starfish. Some starfish do have dots, some don't. So that's another fun little way that you can decorate your starfish. I also used my little chopstick tool to create my lines in my scallop seashell and to create my little star in my sand dollar. So something like this can be very useful. You could also use the back end of like a butter knife or any other little tool that you guys would use maybe when you're playing with Play-Doh and stuff. Now, the really cool thing about this dough is right now it is very squishy and you can make it look however you want, right? If you leave it sit out in the air and let it dry, it will harden and it will stay in that shape forever. So that is what we are going to do with these starfish. We are going to let them dry, and then you have the option. You can either leave them the color that they are, or you can use different paints or even food colorings to color, to add some color to your little creations after they have dried. So this could be a several day project actually. Now, if you're not quite ready to be done with your dough, put it in a Ziploc bag or other airtight container, and it should stay malleable enough for you to use it again when you are ready then for your designs to be set. Then you just leave it sitting out. There is no need to bake this dough. You can, if you would like to make this process go a little faster, set your oven at the very lowest heat that you can and put them in there on a baking sheet and let them sit for a few minutes, and you can dry them out that way as well. But just leaving them out, I think they said overnight, is probably about enough and all that you need. So I told you that you might get a little bit messy, but all you have to do is you can either sit here and kind of peel it off, which is kind of fun too, or it washes right off in the sink and you'll never even know that you had salt dough all over your hands. That's all I have for craft time today. If you guys have a chance to make any wonderful creations with this salt dough, please send us a picture. I would love to see what you guys come up with. You guys are all so incredibly creative. I know that you are going to make some fantastic creations. Make sure that you stay tuned the rest of the week for some more fun activities. I hope to see you again next week for our next craft. Thanks for watching, guys. See you then.